Today you're going to see people on the stage singing and making music, speaking, praying, and teaching. These people are talented, these people are beautiful, and we love these people. But you got to know something. Today there will be people sitting near you. These are good people. They may already share a deep bond with you, or they may be complete strangers. You might even wonder what they're thinking of you. But you know what? Today, at some point, you'll be invited to look at the person in the mirror. We think you're beautiful. God thinks you're beautiful. In His eyes, you are worth everything. But here's the truth. This day and every day, it's all about Him. It's all about a holy God who took the form of man, who lived and died and rose again, full of grace and full of truth. It's all about the one who sits enthroned at the right hand of the Father. The one who, at the very mention of His name, every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that He is Lord to the glory of the Father. Our worship, our praise, and our extended focus is all about Jesus. And our surrendered response is simply to worship Him, just to worship Him. Because this is not about us at all. This is all about
I start off by saying it is all about Jesus, period. Knowing Him and making Him known. It's all about Him. Just as Carrie said a few, moments ago, thank you so much for being here. I know summer is upon us and the heat is coming and the rain will stop. All these wonderful things. Just glad you all are here. Many people are traveling and stuff, but I'm just so glad that you made it a point to get up and to be here today. We want to encourage you in your relationship with Jesus today. And just as she said about the communication cards, if you didn't get a chance to place one in the offering plate as it was passed, you can simply place those in the bowl at the back. And if you have a prayer request or updated information, we'd love to visit with you, to pray for you, to encourage you. Life is full of questions. You know that, and I know that. We ask some, we hear many. But I believe that if you're the mother or the parent of a toddler, you know this maybe better than anyone. It's been said that kids could ask, on average, 288 questions a day. That is one every 2 minutes, 36 seconds. And some of you are thinking, oh, not my child. They can beat those odds. Okay. So how about these? Here's some questions we might hear. What are you doing? Why? What is that? Why? Where do babies come from? Why? Why are we here? Why? And the questions go on and on and on. There are plenty of questions, but not just parents of kids. Some questions we might hear might not be that important. Like, what clothes should I wear today? I personally think the answer is, I don't know. You should wear clothes. Start with that. How about this? Grande or venti? To me, that's an important question. I'm just being honest. And here's one that some people might not deem important, but I think it is. What kind of steak would you like? How do you want that cooked? What size would you like that? These are important questions to me, but for the most part, maybe not that important. But there's some questions that you and I hear where I think they carry a little bit more significance. Like this. What do you want to be when you grow up? And another one. What do you want to be now that you are grown up? And there's some questions in our lives that have the potential to change our life. Like this. For me, it was about 21 years ago when I asked someone by the name of Jennifer to marry me. See, life is full of questions, but some have the potential to change our life. Jesus was a master at asking questions. The Gospels record some 300 of them. In the book of Mark alone, Jesus had 67 personal encounters with people and asked 50 questions. You know this if you've read the Bible, read the Gospels. Jesus taught primarily by two modes of communication. He asked questions and he told stories. We call them parables. But the one question we're going to look at today is perhaps the most important question that he ever asked. And I believe he's still asking us today. And depending on how you answer it, it has the potential to impact everything about your life. Everything. How you view morality, your sense of right and wrong, your values, your priorities, how you make decisions. The answer to this question can even impact eternity for each and every one of us. It's a question that you and I cannot ignore. And it's this: who is Jesus? Or as he said it, who do you say I am? I never will forget in Bible college, one of my professors, Mark Scott is his name, love that guy, amazing teacher, stood in front of a group of students, freshmen, and said this as he seared into our souls and locked eyes on each one of us. Jesus was either a liar, a lunatic, or he is the Lord. But you must deal with him. Today, maybe not as well spoken, if you will, as Mark Scott, I bring the same question to you. This summer, we're going to be doing a lot of kind of mini messages in the sense of kind of standalone messages. But today, I've chosen this passage and this topic for a reason. Starting tomorrow, we're doing our Vacation Bible School. And the theme is Sweet on Jesus. I don't know if you noticed that as you walked in. The whole premise is that we want to be looking at who he is and how do we follow him. So today, I want to look at who is Jesus. And next Sunday, I want us to look at how can you and I practically follow him each and every day of our life. So we come to the story in Matthew chapter 16. I hope you're there. And we're going to walk through this passage together. Matthew chapter 16, verses 13 through 20. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say the Son of Man is?" They replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." "But what about you?" he asked. "Who do you say I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." Jesus replied, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." Then he ordered his disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Messiah. So here's the scene. Jesus and his disciples are in the city of Caesarea Philippi. This is 30 miles north of the Sea of Galilee. It's the northern border of Israel. But we need to know something else. This is the epicenter of idol worship. Remember, Caesar was a god. He was looked as a god anyway. Zeus and many others. And at the base of the mountains, they would place countless idols and shrines. So the disciples have been following Jesus for about 2 years now. And in this place, where so many people are giving themselves to idol worship and the worship of other gods, small letter G, Jesus stops, turns to his disciples, and asks the most important question of their lives. Who do people say that the Son of Man is? Jesus uses this title of himself quite often. You've probably heard it. It's used some 80 times in the Gospels to describe Jesus, but it carries a double meaning. It's a combination of an Old Testament promise that the Messiah one day would come. And it's Jesus also reminding people that he's a human being. When Jesus uses it, he's saying, I am the Messiah, fully God and fully man. That's what I am. That's who I am. But what do other people say about me? Verse 14, well, they replied, some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah, and others say Jeremiah or one of the prophets. Well, Jesus, I heard that some say you're John the Baptist. This is definitely true of King Herod. You know, he thought Jesus might be John the Baptist who came back from the dead to maybe stalk him. Well, Jesus, I know some people think that you're Elijah. And there was an Old Testament prophecy that made people think Elijah would come back and precede the Messiah. But it was really just a metaphor for John the Baptist. I have a friend, Jesus, who thinks you're Jeremiah or a prophet like that. You're like a reincarnated dead prophet, perhaps. Maybe you're just a preacher that's trying to draw attention to yourself. This is on a slide. It should not surprise us that people in Jesus' day had so many different ideas of who he was. And isn't that true for us today? For people today? Pastor author Judah Smith wrote a book entitled this, Jesus is blank. And as part of a marketing experience, he collected people's answers to that question. Jesus is blank. Here are some of the answers people had to say. Jesus is cool. I guess I'm okay with that one. Jesus is alive. Jesus is Prince of Peace. Jesus is a lie. Jesus is not real. Jesus is the Savior. I like this one. Jesus is smarter than Google. Jesus is a failure. Jesus is true. Jesus is the Messiah. Jesus is a marketing tool. These are things that people said about Jesus. There are many opinions out there about Jesus. But Jesus steers the conversation away from, what are you hearing? And goes straight to the disciples. Who do you say I am? It just got interesting. Now it's very personal. No more hiding behind what other people are saying or what they're hearing. He's looking at the disciples and saying, who do you say I am? Now we have to remember, Jesus isn't just walking up to some random stranger. They have spent time with Jesus. Here's some of the things they've heard Jesus say. I've come down from heaven to do the will of him who sent me. John chapter 6, verse 38. The Father and I are one. John chapter 10, verse 30. How about this? I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. John 14, 6. They heard a lot of what Jesus said, but they also saw him do a lot. Just in the previous 15 chapters of Matthew, here's some of the things they saw Jesus do. Healed the demon-possessed, those that were paralyzed, those that were leprous, the Roman soldier servant without visiting the house. Peter's mother-in-law was healed. He calmed a storm. He healed somebody of a blood disorder for 12 years. He brought a dead girl back to life. He healed the blind and the mute. He fed 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish. He walked on water and he fed 4,000. And they watched Jesus stand toe to toe with the religious leaders and political leaders of the day. So Peter, who was always shooting off his mouth with no hesitation, says, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. I know who you are. The Son of God here on earth. You're not just like many of them out there. You are one of a kind. A couple years back, In his February 20th morning chapel address, Pope Francis was speaking from this very passage. And he got to this part, and this is what he said. The most important question is, who is Jesus for you? Do you hear the subtle shift? The dangerous shift that statement is? It's one that asks us to think about who we want Jesus to be for us, rather than evaluating who he is and deciding if it's true. See, asking who is Jesus for you allows us to come up with a ton of different answers or versions of Jesus, answers to that question. Here's a couple. There's gentle Jesus, who is meek and mild, flowing blonde hair, and walks around barefoot, wearing a sash. There's hippie Jesus, who teaches everyone to give peace a chance. Imagine a world without religion and helps us remember all you need is love. There's good citizen Jesus, who shows you how to help people change the planet and become a better you. But when Jesus asks, who do you say I am? He's not opening the door for us to decide who we would like him to be. And that's what a lot of people want to do. When Jesus asks, who do you say I am? He's asking us to look at what he said about himself and decide, is this true? Peter blurts out, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Please, let's understand what he's saying. You are the Messiah. You're the Christ, the Anointed One. Generations have been waiting for him, and the entire story has been pointing to this moment. Listen to the words in Galatians chapter 4, verses 4 through 5. When the time had fully come, God sent his Son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those under the law, that we might receive adoption to sonship. I am so thankful for that. You are the Son of the living God. You are the Son of God, but you are God. Remember where they are, people, standing in the place that represents a whole lot of other gods. Jesus is alive. They are all dead and gone. It's such a defining statement. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. We ask people to repeat this and respond to this before they are baptized. You remember that? It's foundational. Jesus is going to look at Peter and say, now you understand what you say is true. I think you and I need to measure everything of what we say against what Peter said. Is he the Messiah, the Son of the living God? See, you and I know what everybody else says. I can only imagine some of the things perhaps you have heard and I have heard. We know what Peter says, but I want to ask you, what say you? What say you? Here today, sitting in this room, sitting in your chair, maybe watching this later, who do you say Jesus is? Christian author and teacher C.S. Lewis, many of you have read some of his stuff, said this in Mere Christianity. I am trying here to prevent anyone saying the really foolish thing that people often say about him, which is, I'm ready to accept Jesus as a great moral teacher, but I don't accept his claim to be God. And he goes on to say, that is one thing we must not say. A man who was merely a man and said the sort of things Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. He would either be a lunatic on the level with the man who says he is a poached egg, or else he would be the devil of hell. You must make your choice. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or else a madman or something worse. He goes on to say this. You can shut him up for a fool. You can spit at him. You can kill him as a demon, or you can fall at his feet and call him Lord and God, but not let us come with any patronizing nonsense about his being a great human teacher. He has not left that open to us. he did not intend to. Pretty powerful statement. So, who is Jesus? Mark Scott, as I was a freshman in Bible college, looked into my eyes and said, he was either a liar, a lunatic, or a Lord, but you must deal with him, and so must you. So let's talk about this just a little bit. Who do you say Jesus is? I certainly am not anywhere near the teacher and have the knowledge of a Mark Scott, but I'm going to add one more option. Maybe Jesus was a legend. He was made up. But you and I need to know history debunks that very quickly. Evidence proves otherwise. I want to encourage you with something. Many of you have read some of their books, but there are a couple people that sought out to disprove the claims of Christ and to disprove Christianity. And there was so much overwhelming evidence that they became Christians in the process. You know these names as Josh McDowell and Lee Strobel. If you have not, I would encourage you to check out Lee Strobel's A Case for Christ and A Case for Faith. Josh McDowell, who was, this work is a little bit older, but it's still very good. Evidence That Demands a Verdict. Both of these guys, incredibly knowledgeable, sought to disprove the claims of Christ, disprove Christianity, and there was so much overwhelming evidence they became a follower of Jesus in the process. So that's debunked. How about this? Liar. If he's a liar, he made up what he said. Maybe Jesus convinced 12 guys to leave their jobs and join his club and follow him for 3 years. He simply pretended to be someone he wasn't. In other words, he would be no better than a scam artist. But I'd like to think, I'm quite confident that if this is true, at some point he would break. When things got tough, people trying to stone him, beat him, carrying the cross, and Caleb painted a picture of the passion of the Christ. I would like to think if somebody was a liar, they would want to tap out and say, just kidding, just kidding. See, when you and I were kids, maybe some of you in here, when you sometimes would fake being sick, and maybe you're taken to the doctor and they say, you know what, we might need to draw some blood. And they bring out this big needle. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You know what? If he was a liar, then he taught lies and can't be considered to be a great teacher. Because great teachers don't lie. He would have taught on the lies, on the most crucial parts, his identity. Lunatic. If he was a lunatic, he was so crazy he believed he was the way to God. Jesus would take his place then with the likes of Jim Jones or David Koresh, who claimed to be the Messiah but were essentially unstable, perhaps crazy. After all, normal people don't say the things that Jesus said. But one option is to believe that Jesus was so convincing that people believed him anyway. But you and I would have to look at the evidence and realize that lunatics usually lead more people to be lunatics. Jesus turned people into better people. And he won this is one of the coolest things, I think, people. He won the admiration and allegiance of people from all walks of life. Sometimes even those that opposed him. So he wasn't a legend, wasn't a liar, he wasn't a lunatic. Lord. Maybe Jesus really was who he said he was. After all, no great teacher or religious founder ever said he was God. Jesus stands alone. And this is huge. He was willing to die for his claim that he was the Messiah, the Son of God. That's what Peter believed. If he was Lord, he's the Son of God, and there's no other way to heaven but through him. All other paths are dead ends. Do you remember that verse, John 14:6? Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. I was 16 years old whenever I became a Christian, and I was far, far off before I came to Christ. But I've come to that conclusion in my life. Jesus is truly Lord of all. I love the saying, if he's not Lord of all, he's not Lord at all. We are called to that. Jesus replied in verse 17, "You are blessed, Simon, son of John, because my Father in heaven has revealed this to you. You did not learn this from any human being." Here's Jesus saying, what you said is correct, Peter, and you didn't come up with that on your own. God revealed this to you. Jesus has been saying this kind of thing and showing it for over 2 years now. Now Peter's eyes were opened and he believed it. I want you to know, as I step back, we believe in the songs that we sang. We believe the Bible is the inspired Word of God. We believe prayer is powerful and effective. We believe in Jesus here. And he's always going to be the center of our preaching and our teaching. We believe also that needs to start, that should start at a young age. We believe, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're older, they won't depart from it. That is our prayer. We have a great opportunity at Vacation Bible School, starting tomorrow night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night, to impress the words of Jesus on the hearts and minds of young people and some adults. Check out this video. I'm here with Tori Lambert. She works with our kids here at Christ Church of Yukon. And tomorrow night, we're starting Vacation Bible School, and the theme is Sweet on Jesus. Tell us a little bit about that.
So this week, we're going to be equipping our kids with the tools they need to have a relationship with Jesus. We'll start the week learning about Zacchaeus and how Jesus loves all of us no matter what we do. We'll talk about miracles he performed, and then we'll end the week teaching the kids the importance of having a relationship with him and spending time with him.
Excellent. And today we're asking that question, the most important question, who is Jesus? Because really it starts there for all our kids. And we believe wholeheartedly here at Christ Church of Yukon that you train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're older, they won't depart from it. So we encourage you to not only be here, and if you can't be here, invite a friend, invite a neighbor. Be praying for these young people as they encounter Christ this week. Thank you. Would you all stand with me, please? I want to tell Kathy Rumbo, thank you so much for putting that video together, and I thought Tori did great. The other guy, not so much, but anyway, isn't that what it's all about? It's about Jesus, knowing him and making him known. There's one more slide that I just want to put up. It's I said, everything rests on the answer to this question. If what Jesus says about himself is true, it changes everything. Everything. I have purpose in life. I have a reason for living. It's not by accident. Man, and however long I have on this earth, I can know and experience God. And I can point other people to him. Is there anything in your life that is worth more or more important than that? No, there's not. So today I ask you, who do you say he is? You've got to ask yourself that question. I know many of you in here have been followers of Christ for some time. Keep following. Maybe some of you in here, maybe one of you in here has never accepted the good news of Jesus into your life. It changes everything. I would encourage you to step out, to be bold and step forward, and we want to receive you and we want to pray for you. We want to encourage you. There is a judgment-free zone here. There is no judgment. And we want to encourage you in your relationship with Jesus. Maybe you have a prayer request of any kind. We encourage you to act upon that and step out in faith. Oh wait, that's what we're talking about next week. Step out in faith. Step out in faith as Carrie leads us.